Hi, my name is Mark, welcome to Gamers Web. In this video I'm going to carry on looking at the Star Trek files from Raven Studios. This time round, looking at the Cardassians. Let's check it out.
You're making a terrible mistake. I'm not a traitor. Please, just let me speak to the founder. No, wait. Cardassian! Cardassian!
Hi, welcome back. As I mentioned in the intro, this video I'm going to take a look at the Cardassian Union models from Raven Studios. These were very kindly sent to me by Daniel Chambers, the lovely gentleman who owns Raven Studios, and I thought I'd take a quick look at them and pick one up. They're going towards my Star Trek collection. I've got quite a few going on now, and they're going to be used mainly for a Star Trek skirmish game that uses Xenos Rampant as its core rule. So look out for that in the future with all the stats and stuff like that for them. Okay, so first thing to do is go to the Raven site. You can find this by either clicking on the link below, or if you go into Google, just search for Raven Studios. And this is Daniel's Gumroad page. You can also find it via Facebook as well. And at the moment he's got a 40% off on all models on his site with the thanks for all. If you just enter that in during the Thanksgiving and holiday period, so that'll be till the end of December, beginning of January, I'd imagine. These are the distributors for physical prints that Daniel has here in the UK, in Europe, in Australia, Germany and the US. Okay. So what we're looking for is the Cardassian Union. Now, we've looked at the Klingons in the last video. I've also got the Rathakar, the Dominion and the Eclipse Bridge crew to look at as well, and that's the one we looked in the last video. We've also got the Rathakar bundle there as well, so that's the second one and the first one. But what we're wanting is the Cardassian Union Infiltrator Bundle, and as you can see, we get all these lovely infiltrators here. We get Legate Damar, 1 officer, 3 Cardassian rifle soldiers, 2 male, 1 female, 1 comms officer, 3 pistol soldiers, 2 males and 1 female. And these are designed for Star Trek Adventures, role-playing game, or any other role-playing game you can think of. And as I say, they're going to be used for Star Trek Adventures role-playing game, but they're mainly going to be used in the Xenos Rampant. We're going to be putting them up against Predators and Xenomorphs, as well as other Star Trek characters. Okay, ready for war. 9 highly detailed 32mm Legion and 32mm scale and Legion scale 3D miniatures of the Cardassian Union faction for use with Star Trek Adventures. Okay, so have a quick look at what the models look like. So we've got lots of good detail on the models. Now, for some reason, every time you click on the icon, it just drops the mouse down. So, okay, so we've got a female. I just realised that's one of the figures I've not printed. We've got a female with a rifle. And then I like that one. Okay, so same as we did with the Klingons, you basically go to the bundle, which is $7.25, but if you use the 40% off, you're going to get it a lot cheaper than that, and you add it to your cart, and then check out. Once you check out, download it, you'll get a download link more or less straight away, and then it's a question of just extracting the files and saving them on your hard drive. Once you save them on your hard drive, we're going to get them onto the build plate and then print it off. I'm not going to bother doing that this time because I did that in the last video. So if you want to see how I do that in this video, Just check back to the last video, I will leave a link to it. Okay, so what I'm going to concentrate on this one is more on painting. So go back to my Google search. In my Google search here, I've got, so basically you can just go in, search for Cardassian, and it'll tell you all about the Cardassians. Not to be confused with Cardassian, but so what we're looking for is images. So we've got male and female images, and then you can actually look for you know, characters like Garak and Damar and oh, let me think who else. Lots and lots of different characters. Levesque, Abram, lots of characters. But what we're looking for is uniform details and skin details and stuff like that. Now, Cardassians tend to change colour depending on what series they're in and what episode they're in. They change from being a very bright pink flesh tone almost to ashen grey, and as you can see here, we've got Mark Alamo with grey, very very grey makeup. Then we've also got Andy Robinson as Garak with very very grey skin, and again we've got Mark Alamo with grey skin, but then again we've got Mark Alamo with pink skin and Mark Alamo with pink skin, and Andrew Robinson with pink skin. So it depends on which image you get to see. Maybe click on that one and see what it brings up. There's a bigger picture of Garak. As you can see, his skin's quite pink, but if we go along to this one here, his skin's not pink, it's grey. It does. I think it does depend on the lighting, but I've gone for the grey one because the actual Cardassian Wikipedia says that they tend to have a mottled grey skin, very reptilian, and I like that. I think it works quite well, but it has got quite warm overtones in it when I've actually done the painting, so it doesn't look too sickly. Right, so first things first, before we go on to the uniform details, what we're going to look at here is the skin details. So we've got our greyish skin, and as you can see, we've got the spoon-shaped ridge in the head. Right, so given the non-glamour of spoon heads, which is not nice, but males and females have slightly variant skins. So if you look on this one here, this is Tingy Thompson from the Avengers, whose name I can't remember. She played one of the Cardassians in Star Trek Next Generation, and as you can see in the indentation in her head, it's got like a bluish tinge in the middle there. And then if we look at this character here, she's got the same. She's also got it on her neck. And then we'll look at these two characters, they've both got this blue thing. Now, according to what it says on Memory Alpha, which is the Star Trek fandom website where people submit all of their fan ideas and stuff, and some of this is actually submitted by Star Trek creators. We'll look at the physiology, and so on female Cardassians, the ridge in the centre of the forehead often has a blue coloration, as did the second or third rung on the neck ridges. The coloration may be a form of cosmetic makeup, similar to hammer ink and markings. Cardassians had straight hair that varied in colour from dark brown to jet black, although the latter coloration was far more common. So basically this thing here, what my mouse is, that is either dye or a genetic variant. As you can see, she's got a blue thing on her ridge there on her head, and again blue there. Even Kira, when she was as a Cardassian, she's got the blue on her head there. So that's the main difference between the males and the females. Okay, so we now go on to the Cardassian uniform, and again there's lots of different uniforms. a good idea is to get your uniform details by, I don't know why that's come up, let me just close that down. Get your uniform details by clicking on the images, and what I tend to do is save them into a folder. I've got reference folders all over my PC for various things like Star Wars, Star Trek, Aliens, Predator, lots and lots of different things, and then I can just bring up the images whilst I'm painting if I need to. Normally have the static image up whilst I'm painting, and either a podcast or a YouTube video playing in the background that I'm not really paying much attention to. I'm more concentrating on the actual video itself, on the painting itself than the video. And I'm not the best painter in the world. I used to be very good, but my health has really taken a toll over the past few years, and as such my eyesight is deteriorated very badly, but painting lowers my blood pressure. As such, I do it. So anyway, let's crack on. So as you can see, the uniforms tend to be very dark. They're black and grey. So we get black trousers and a grey like smock type thing. Then we've got other ones here like the original uniforms. I wish this would stop popping up. Like this one here. There we go, that was a good one. So it tends to be like quite dark blacks and greys, and then occasionally you'll get the characters with like a brownish uniform on as well. They're the ones who tend to be working on Bejor or living on Bejor. They tend to wear the browns because that's what tends to be the predominant colour on Bejor. These are things for the Sims, you know. That's a Cardassian fan made thing. So as we can see, this is a good one because this is a female. We've got the neck ridges, we've got the blue on the neck ridges, we've also got the blue in the forehead, and then we've got the details on this. So it's silver on the inside, grey on the outside, or a very dark silver, and then black for the rest of the uniform. Okay, so and then also the uniform has the belt details on, which is very important because we don't have the belt details on more or less any other figure, any other image that I've come across. So right, all that done, what we're going to do now is we're going to go over and set the camera up, and I'll show you how we quickly do that, and we can get on from there. So thank you for staying with me so far. Please hold on and I'll be right back. Okay folks, so these are the paints that I'm going to be using in this video. We've got 3 from Citadel, and the rest are from either Army Painter or Scale 75, and they worked out quite well. I was very pleased with the results I got with them. Okay, so for the basis on the actual uniforms themselves, we're going to use 2 greys. We're going to use Basilicanum Grey Contrast from Games Workshop's contrast range, and then for the lighter details we're going to use Space Wolves Grey. Space Wolves Grey is going to be used mainly for the bulk of detail on the actual miniature itself, whereas Basilicanum Grey is going to be used for the darker areas. Then we've got Black Legion for all the black parts of the uniform, such as the holsters and belts that go around the uniform, and for the shoes. Well, it's for the boots part of the shoes because they're like a two-tone effect. And then moving those to one side, we've got matte black for all the black areas, because I'm just going to use the matte black because this one's quite a good one. We've got strong tone, which is going to be used to shade everything and tie everything together. And then we've got combat fatigues, which is a greeny grey colour that's going to be used for all the flesh tones. And then finally, for all the weapon details, we have my brain's gone. And Negro black gold for Scale 75. And there's one more colour that I've not added in there, which I should have done, is another contrast paint, which is Blood Angels Red. for all of the red accents on the weapons, because the guns tend to be red, grey, and gold. So that's what we're going to use this for. So that's our paints out of the way. Let's get everything set up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my figure mounted on a little base, and he's also mounted on my painting stick, which is one of these 3D printed tests for your printers. It came with my Elegoo. I've got loads and loads of these. I use them as painting handles, and just basically put a piece of double-sided tape on it. As you can see, there's a piece hanging off the edge there. I put a piece of double-sided tape on, and I can just gently prise the figure off. It saves gluing it down to anything else and causing damage to the base. Okay, so this has been primed with Vallejo grey primer, a standard grey primer, and left to dry, and is now ready to be painted. Now, I could have cut out the middleman and just painted it black and then started dry brushing it up, but I decided to do a different way, and what I'm going to do is just get on with the model itself. Okay, so first layer is going to be our grey uniform for the majority of the model. So for that, I'm going to be using the one that I've hidden right at the back. I'm going to be using Space Wolf Grey. So I'm going to shake this up to make sure I get a good coverage with it, and then I'm going to take some on my brush, load it on my brush, and I'm going to apply this to the majority of the model. In fact, I'm going to apply it on the arms. Now, I looked at some of the pictures, and this area here could be darker, but I'm quite happy with the finished effects. I've already painted quite a lot of these models up. So just go all the way around, and I'm going to fill all these areas in here like this. So they're all done. And you don't need to be worrying about being too neat at the moment, just as long as you get the paint on. And this dries very light, and it's a very good grey. It covers quite well, as you can see. Like that. The only problem with trying to paint on a camera is to keep things in focus. So the Cardassians, they're pretty good antagonists. I think they're going to be quite good to play as a faction in the game. Now, Star Trek Adventures, in my previous games of Star Trek Adventures, I had the Cardassians as recurring bad guys. I had a Gull who would come back and haunt the player characters from time to time. And he wasn't a military man, really, even though he was a Gull. He'd been deposed, and he was more of a con artist and swindler, a little bit like Harry Mudd. And he used to get into all sorts of shenanigans. Okay, so the good thing about these handles is you can turn the figure upside down without fear of dropping him. Like that. So, as you can see, most of the grey bits are done now. Like this. And then, obviously, if you notice that you've missed any little bits, you can always go back and tidy those up again. So, I've left this area here white. Because if I can just get it to focus there. The main area here, I've left that white because that's going to have the darker grey on it. And I've left the top of the boots, like the gaiter part of the boots, I've left those white as well. And obviously it's flesh tones. So that's your first colour, which was Space Wolf Grey. So I just wash my brush. And I'm just using a cheap brush that I got a set from Amazon. This is a size 0 brush. I tend to use slightly larger brushes, or brushes with a good point that have got a long bristles on them, because I find them easy to use. Okay, so Space Wolf Grey has just been done. We'll go on to the next part, which is going to be the flesh tone. So for this, we're going to use, just shake the bottle up, there we go, that's all. That should be nice and done. I'm going to use combat fatigues, which is from the Army Painter, and just going to a little drop that onto my palette, pop that back down again, and then, as with all things, I'm not going to paint it straight from my palette. Now I use a dry palette rather than a wet palette, but I always have a well on my palette which I put some water in, because I find it easier to actually paint with a wet palette. Oh, sorry, with a wet paint. It'd be quite hard to paint with dry paint, really, wouldn't it? Okay, so what I'm going to do is just add this paint to the flesh tones, making sure that I get his ridges on his neck. Now, again, I'm not too bothered about being neat. It doesn't really matter, as long as I get the paint in place. As I can get the thing to focus. I've got an idea. If I put that there, is that going to help us focus? Perhaps not. Oh yeah, that's a little bit better. Right, so this is the actual case that the paintbrushes came in. I'm going to use that as a backdrop type thing, and then I can actually get the camera to focus, because it's not trying to focus on nothing. Okay, so just get the combat fatigues onto the basics of the bases of the flesh tones. Don't forget, you need to do the inside of the hands as well. I need to go back over that little bit there with grey, because I missed it, because I'm painting it upside down. Like this. And also turn around and look at the back of the neck. You'll see that he's still got his neck ridges there, so we paint all that. And that is more or less the basics of the flesh tones done. So we shall leave him there for a second whilst I change to the next colour. Now, the good thing about contrast paints is they dry quite quickly. So we can move on to our next tone, which is going to be the and this falls over, which I should have paused the camera when I did this, but anyway, let's get this back in place. Okay, so our next tone is going to be the dark grey, which is basilicanum grey, and I'm going to use this for the dark areas on a model. I need to get more of this because I'm running out. It's all shaken up. And this is going to be the gaiters on the boots down here. I'm going to paint them with this. So once it dries, it'll dry quite dark compared to the rest of the model. And also for the dark area, the main part on the chest. Right, so now I'm going to leave his belt, because I'm going to do that with a matte black, because from my tests on the previous models that I've painted, I found that that works best. So as you can see, it's on his gaiters and it's on his chest. Now it may take 2 coats because it's quite thin. But we are going to shade the entire model. And I say, don't be too scared about getting it onto the boots, because the boots are going to be painted onto the shoe part of the boots. They're going to be painted black. Try not to get it on the grey if you can help it, on the light grey. If not, don't worry. Oh, like that. All done. Right, so what I'm going to do is just going to pause the camera for a moment, let this dry, and then we can come back and do the next part. So I shall be right back. Okay, hopefully this will stay in focus for a little bit longer. This bit here is still a little bit damp, so I'm going to keep away from that. The next colour I'm going to use is matte black from the Army Painter. Right, so I'm going to use this on the belts and on the hair, and also on the shoes. Now for this I've got a slightly smaller brush. Sorry, it's not a smaller brush, it's a better tip brush. This is a size 1, but it's got a long tip on it, so it allows me to basically get in and keep the point on the brush a lot longer. So I'm just going to use this on the base of the shoes, so not on the putties but on the base. Just put a bit more water on that, it's not enough water in the black. So I'm slightly thinning down my black paint, just adding a little bit of water to it so it's not too thick or too gloopy. Now he's not focusing again. Some YouTube channels I've got absolutely brilliant setups. I've got very limited space to paint, so my setup tends to be whatever I can do at the moment. Maybe one day when I'm rich and famous. Okay, so done the boots, gonna go around and do the holster, trying not to get onto the flesh tones, and do the belt as well, and turning the model around whilst I'm doing so. This. And there's a couple of little bits that I've missed that I'm going to pick up when I do my washes. Okay, so that's predominantly most of the black areas done. Next thing to do is his hair. So I'm going to do this very, very gently, trying to avoid getting any on the flesh tones. Like so. And much like the Klingons, because these models are all predominantly one colour, they're quite easy to do. You can get, well, I got 9 of them done last night watching a movie on Netflix. And then just watching episodes of Family Guy. So managed to get 9 of them done quite quickly. Right, so that's more or less the basis done on the model. So clean my brush again. Now I looked at all of the images that I could find with Cardassian weaponry and stuff like that, and Cardassian equipment and weaponry tends to be grey and gold. So I'm using my scale 75 black gold, or old necrotic black gold, which is this one. Alright, and for this, all I'm going to do is just add a wee drop of water to it. Not very much, don't need very much water on it. And for this, I'm just going to put on the tricorder or data pad that he's got in his hand. It looks like a tricorder, it also looks like a data pad as well. And as you can see, it's got little buttons on it. So put that on his hand, and I don't need very much of it. Just a wee drop, like that. And then if we look on this side here on his belt, you've got the gun holster, and inside the gun holster is his pistol. So it's got his hand resting on it, and I just need to do a little tiny bit of gold on that. And that is all the gold details done. And now it's a question of washing my brush again and doing the final colour, and then any touch-ups that need to be done can just get out of the way. They won't take very long to do. And for the final colour, it's going to be knocking everything over Oh, what a disaster. Everything falls over because I'm using a backdrop. Right, so I'm going to have to work a way out of getting a better painting area where I can keep my paints in place without losing anything. Right, so my final colour that I'm going to add on is going to be Blood Angels Red Contrast from Games Workshop. And I only need a little tiny drop of this. I don't need very much. And this is going to go on the painting handle, on the handle of the gun. I am not with it today, as usual. So on the handle of the gun, and it's just a tiny little bit like that. And this will change colour once I get it in place. I've just noticed there's a big gap. He's got a big white streak on the top of his head, so I'm just going to top that off. He's got a big gap, like a ball plate, on the top of his head. So I still got all the paints on my palette, which is the great thing about using a paint palette. Right, okay, so that's predominantly the figure done. So I'm just going to leave him like that now to dry, and then we'll come back and we'll do the rest of the details and the shading, which doesn't take very long at all. So I shall pick up all my paints that fall on the floor and be right back. Okay, right, so it's mostly dry, not completely, but it's dry enough for my next stage. So for the next stage, I'm going to use Strong Tone, which is this lovely paint here from Army Painter. And I've got this on my palette already. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to water this down quite a fair bit. So it's very, very weak compared to straight out of the bottle. And with this, I'm going to just carefully wash over all of the flesh tones. And it'll look quite dark, but we are going to actually highlight this back up again very, very easily. Now, obviously this is a male Cardassian. If I was painting a female Cardassian, before I got to this stage, I would put on a blue dot on her forehead and on her neck ridges if they were showing, using Space Wolf Grey, because it's about the right colour. Once it's dry, it's quite good. And then I'd probably go over that again after I've done the wash. Okay, so let that dry. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go over all the Space Wolf Grey areas with the same wash that's slightly diluted to add a little bit more definition to them. So once they're dry, they'll blend in quite well, and they'll look more like fabric than just a piece of painted resin. Hopefully, that's the goal. Like that. Again, Daniel Chambers has done an amazing job with these models. They all look great. So thanks, Daniel. They look brilliant. And I can't wait to paint up the Jemadar, which are the next ones that I'm going to be doing, along with Wayun. Okay, so that is more or less the model done. You could actually use him like that. You could slap a base on him and he'd be tabletop ready. Be ideal to paint, to play with. But I'm going to go a little bit further because I'm going to add details to the gold and also to his pad, because at the moment his pad is just one colour. As we can see if I turn it around, it's just one colour. So I'm going to add a little screen onto his pad and a couple of buttons, and then I'm going to highlight up his hair, and then he's done. Right, so I'll show you how he looks when he's finished with one I prepared earlier in Time Honoured Tradition. So here is our finished version, and as you can see, I've gone in and I've added a couple of details onto his pad. His pad's got a little screen on it. Don't need to put too much detail on it. It's got a glow using a warp lightning citadel contrast paint, and then I've put some sand on his base, and he's done. It's the exact same model, it's just finished. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all these mounted up and put onto the turntable, and I'll get some photos of them, the same as I did in the last video, and I'll put them up at the end of the video. All it remains for me to say now is, once again, thanks very much to Daniel Chambers from Raven X Studios for the samples. They're brilliant. I can't wait to get all these painted and played with. I've printed loads of them out, and I'm really looking forward to getting them on the tabletop and playing some games with Roland and Eric, and having some fun. And thank you very much to yourself for tuning in to this video. Not many people watch my videos, but if you do watch it and you do find it of interest in any shape or form, please just leave a like. It does help, and hopefully one day I might be able to play with the big boys and become a proper YouTube content creator. But at the moment, I do this for myself. I don't get paid for it. I don't do monetary value out of it. It all is labour of love. Right, so no matter where you are in the world, please stay safe. Look after yourself, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Live long and prosper. My name is Mark, and thanks for watching Gamers Web. Bye.